Hey team, welcome to Odyssey Team Training Block 1. As with all of these training blocks, the overarching goal for our training is to be in that congruent training method, meaning we're not favoring strength or conditioning. We're trying to either maintain or progress both of those at the same time. The strength focus or strength intention for this block is going to be working towards a sub-maximal front squat. So at the end of these 3 blocks, we're going to be building towards a 3 rep max. For our conditioning for the block, we're going to be setting baselines. So baselines are just going to give us something to come back to either towards the end of the block or in the next phases of training, just to have some metrics that we can use to kind of track the progression of your fitness. Primarily with the conditioning in block 1, you're going to see a lot of cyclical work, meaning single modality. So building that aerobic base, we're going to be using a lot of machines. This way it's a little bit easier for us to kind of collect data around your capacity on these and help us kind of guide the metrics going forward into the next phases. So moving into the week, Monday. Monday is going to be our lower body intensive day, okay? So we're going to start off with the warm up, and this is going to be the most important part to make sure that we get you prepped for those tempo box front squats. Your warm up is going to be made up of 2 rounds. You're going to get onto the erg just to get the heart rate up and get the body ticking over. And then we're going to make sure that we're priming 2 main things, the squatting pattern and the front rack position, okay? So on the squatting pattern, we're going to hit the world's greatest stretch. We're just going to be working on opening up through into deeper hip flexion, okay? So getting nice and deep into that squat whilst we're working on opening up. Then we're also going to prioritize the rack position. So that preacher stretch coming up through the foam roller, that's going to be prioritizing making sure that our shoulders are opening up whilst we've got enough external rotation in the shoulder. And then we're going to prime those. So we're going to go straight into the half kneeling kettlebell windmill. And again, this is trying to work on the shoulder position of the front rack, where the shoulder blade has to kind of upwardly rotate to get into that front rack position. So you'll see those. And then in the front squat pattern, we're going to warm up the whole movement. So although your first movement will be the tempo box front squat, you will have exercises later on in the day that are going to require you to work through the full range of motions of both your hip, your knee, and your ankle. So we're going to warm up with the full movement of the front squat. So Monday's lower body intensive day after the warm-up is going to start with those tempo front squats. So the primary goal of this is to not be limited by leg strength. So we're working sort of the top portion of the lift where we're going to keep the hips above parallel. So you'll be squatting to the box either when the hips are in line with the top of the knee or slightly above. The goal with this front squat variation is to strengthen more so the core and the upper back. So we're going to be able to get weights on the barbell that you might not be able to squat all the way down to if you were taking away the box. So we want to work on strengthening that position through the top range of the squat. You're going to be using a cluster set, and a cluster set is where you'll perform 3 reps, you'll re-rack the bar and have 15 seconds between the next set of 3, unrack, perform another set of 3, and that's going to be your first set. So the goal with these is that the total volume of the lift is still going to be relatively high with 6 total reps in the set, but we're just going to break them up so you're able to put more loading onto the bar. So again, we can target strengthening through the trunk and the upper back. Following that, when you move into part B, that's going to be the barbell Romanian deadlift. So now we're working from that squatting pattern and moving into our hinging pattern, okay? So we want to make sure that we're definitely targeting the separate muscle groups, hamstrings and glutes for the Romanian and primarily those quads for the front squat. Moving on from there, then we're going to come down into the front foot elevated split squats. So these, unlike the front squat in that position where we were kind of working above parallel, so where the hip crease was in line with the knee, using a single leg variation with the front foot elevated is going to allow us to get much deeper into the hip and train the full range of the hip. Now, if you are someone that struggles with getting down into the deep squat, a single leg variation like this is a great alternative or a great training piece to make sure that you are strengthening as much of the hip as you can. And then to finish off, working on some more sort of muscle hypertrophy or what we call metabolic stress, is you're going to hit the banded goblet cyclist squats. So unlike the previous 3 movements, you're going to see a little bit less of a tempo, and this is just going to be more about getting some blood kind of pumping into those quads to finish off. So you want to feel like you've got some pump, some blood in the legs, some good size on the quads, using the band in this variation just to change where the strength curve is. So typically when you'd be standing up from the squat, As you start to stand up, it gets a little bit easier. By utilizing the band, it keeps you on tension the whole time, which means more time under tension. When you keep a muscle under tension for longer, we're gonna work on that adaptation to growing, okay? So more stress on the muscle is gonna help with the size and growth of the quads. So that's the wrap for the Monday in week 1, block 1. Get a feel for the movements, get a feel for the flow of how this is gonna be for the OTT training, and then yeah, get after it, enjoy.